Guilt is the key that unlocks anxiety. We can exchange that guilt for grief.
When you're suffering, you may not be able to access your best self, and that's normal.
Accept does not mean that it's okay, right? It just means that we recognize that we are fully human, that we are finite, because there are two emotions that can't be fully processed unless they are expressed in community. It's joy and grief. And if I don't feel seen in my grief with my partner, then that means that grief is not fully processed.
Hey, I'm here with you in this grief, and I can feel your grief. I can sit with you in your grief. I want to support you through your grief. You're not too much for me. Sometimes when I hear people talk badly about themselves, it's like, why are you talking to my friend like that?
It's not wrong for me to have this view of emotions. However, it may have an impact on how my partner is feeling seen by me or not feeling seen by me. Saying, hey, I'm feeling really hopeless. I can see that you're feeling really hopeful. What I really need from you right now is just to see me in my pain, and I want to have space to see your hope. I heard a lot of acceptance from Lana, a lot of acceptance from her whole 7-year story that she talked about. So I wonder what brought her there, what brought her to that acceptance. All right, everybody, welcome to another recap episode of Love and Infertility. And today we are recapping our time with Lana Manikowski, which was, I thought, Ginny, was an incredible conversation. Lana, I hope you're not just listening to your episode, but also to this episode. We loved having you on the show. And for our listeners, we hope you got a lot out of that conversation. I know, Ginny, you and I did. But yeah, let's just dive in and start kind of teasing apart some of the things that we heard from Lana and that we got from some of that conversation. Ginny, what jumped out to you?
So much. I thought it was a fantastic conversation. Lana is an absolute delight. She's a great Instagram follow, by the way. I think I followed her for a bit now before I met with her. And her content is awesome. I really appreciate her mission and her message, and the way that she gives hope to a lot of people. And I just really appreciate her work. But I think some of the things that stood out to me, one of the initial things was just the way that she talked about how she and her husband were on kind of different healing journeys when it comes to infertility and how they kind of process that differently. I really appreciated the way that she was able to look back on that, being several years removed from that experience, to be able to say, this is how I processed, this is how I wanted support or didn't want support, and this is how my husband responded and processed and did want support or didn't. And just the amount of respect that she conveyed for her partner's different processing, I thought was really admirable, because I don't know about you, Clay, but sometimes with my couples, it can feel really scary if your partner is not completely on the same page with you and you're processing. Like, I don't know if Lana maybe experienced that at different points of her journey, but the sensation of, if my partner doesn't have the same emotional experience as me and doesn't express it the same way or communicate it in the same way, I can feel really alone in that, or really isolated, or even worry, do they care about this as much as I do? Are they grieving this in the same way? Are they impacted by this in the same way? It sounds like she really is able to acknowledge that he does process those things. He is grieving. He is working through those things. It just looks different. And I just thought that was really amazing to be able to have that perspective of honoring her own perspective and experience, but also honor his and honor how it's different and not feel like that's in conflict, if that makes sense.
Yeah, 100%. This goes back to the conversation that I think that we have with couples so much. I know that I do. When couples are going through infertility, they rarely have the same emotional experience at the same time.
Yeah.
It's pretty unusual if they do. Most of the time, there are these different emotional experiences. They're typically rooted in how we see ourselves as parents, or how we see emotions, how we see what's called meta emotions. So in other words, how we view emotions and their role in life. And that's okay. There's not a wrong way to grieve. And I really want our listeners to hear that. There's not a wrong way to do this. Well, I take that back. If you drown yourself in alcohol and drugs, don't do that. Obviously that's not a healthy way to do that.
Could we reframe it into even there's not a wrong way, but there's consequences to certain ways that people process grief.
Ooh, I like that, Ginny.
It's that whole idea of,
Yeah.
like, coping skills are neutral, but some of them are really damaging, and some of them are even
Yep.
criminal, and some of them
Yep.
are really harmful, but yeah.
Yeah. Some of them are criminal.
Sometimes
That
they are, Clay. Gotta be careful.
I think what you're saying, though, is so that's so accurate, Ginny. Like, it doesn't it's not wrong for me to have this view of emotions. However, it may have an impact
Mhm.
on how my partner is feeling seen by me or not feeling seen by me. And the key is, I think you're alluding to this, Jenny, when talking about Lana's experience with Jack and maybe Jack's experience with Lana. The key is that we recognize what we are experiencing, and then we recognize what our partner's experiencing, and then we talk about it.
Yeah.
And we validate each other, and we're able to kind of put our emotional experience here and also see what my partner's experiencing. It's what I call interpersonal mindfulness. It's a super clinical term for everybody. I know, I get it. But what we're doing is we're not letting our emotions determine how I interact with my partner, or not letting my emotions um, determine how I come off to my partner. Am I criticizing or am I not? Those kinds of things. Like, if we can just kind of step out of that emotional experience, not stuff it down. I mean, just saying, "Hey, I'm feeling really hopeless. I can see that you're feeling really hopeful. What I really need from you right now is just to see me in my pain, and I want to have space to see your hope too. Eventually, I just don't have that right now." So if we can have that kind of back and forth dialogue, it could be really, really powerful and connecting. And it sounds like that Lana and Jack didn't always have that.
Yeah.
Or Lana brought up some different things that maybe brought some conflict, some division, which is, every couple needs to have conflict. It's just how the conflict happens that determines how connected we are through the conflict. Um, but I noticed she's like, she described herself as bitchy.
Mhm.
Like, she used that term. And something I noticed, Jenny, is that when she said, "Gosh, I was so bitchy to Jack," like, and she said it a couple of times, but the first time she said it, I noticed, Jenny, that you made a face.
Oh, no.
No, no, not a bad thing. Like, you you made a face of, like, it would look like compassion,
Mhm.
like compassion for Lana. First of all, I just hate that. I hate that word. I hate the connotations of that word. Anyway, all that being said, what was coming up for you when she said, "Gosh, I was so bitchy to
Ugh.
Jack"?
Yeah, I think it's I don't know what was happening for Lana, but it kind of felt like whenever I hear people use words about themselves like that, and if the word bitchy serves her, like, more power to Lana,
Sure.
using whatever
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
words serve you, that's fine. But I think sometimes when I hear people talk badly about themselves, it's like, "Why are you talking to my friend like that?" Like, why are you
Mm,
talking to your friend like that?"
yep.
And sometimes when I notice myself using certain words towards myself, I try to be aware and try to swap that out a little bit and kind of I think when I heard her use that word, I felt sad for the part of her that felt judgmental towards that season of life, if that makes sense. Like,
Mm, mhm.
it makes a lot of sense how she could have been talking to her husband that way and responding that way. I'm like, "Yeah, for sure. I bet you did respond in those ways
Mhm.
because you were suffering, and when you're
Yeah,
suffering,
totally.
you may not be able to access your best self, and that's normal." I think it goes back
Right.
to that whole coping skills are neutral thing, where if you're in a season and you're short-tempered and you're irritable and gosh, you're probably pumped full of hormones during treatments, you're not
Mhm.
able to necessarily access the most, I don't know, the most gentleness towards your partner. And that makes a lot of sense because you're in that season.
Yeah,
So I think when she
yeah,
said that word, I was like, oh, but you were doing your best, I'm sure. It sounds like you
yeah.
revisited it and own that with your husband and are trying to forgive yourself for that. So yeah, I just felt a lot of like kindness and empathy towards her. And I was like, I hope that you feel that towards yourself also.
Mm, yeah. That totally makes sense, Jenny. I get the sense that she does, and when Lana, when you come back, 'cause I know you will, I hope you will, um,
Please do.
please do. We would love to process that with you, because I got the sense there was a lot of acceptance and not guilt in saying that. So what I tell a lot of my couples that I work with, and they'll describe a season when they're going through infertility treatment of not being their quote unquote best self because of all the stress and the trauma and the isolation that
Yeah.
comes with fertility treatment and loss. And there's a lot of guilt, and guilt unlocks anxiety. Guilt is the key that unlocks anxiety because what's happening is that guilt is trying to tell us how to perform in a certain way. Usually there's regret if we're talking about guilt in the past. And then anxiety, the purpose of anxiety is to motivate your body to do something different, to make a corrective experience. If we're talking about something in the past, there's really that anxiety doesn't really serve us. Um,
Mhm.
so what I often tell clients is that we can exchange that guilt for grief. Like, oh my gosh, like I talk to you in a way that I don't want to talk to you, and I really regret that, and I'm really sorry. And also, I accept that I was not my best self. Now, accept does not mean that it's okay,
Right.
right? It just it just means that we recognize that we are fully human, that we are finite, and that if I'm pumped full of hormones, or if I'm feeling really isolated and feeling stressed and feeling, um, all the things that come with fertility treatment, then I can accept that I was not who I really wanted to be in that moment, and I'm sorry, and I want to do different next time, or try to do different. And so grief is really the key that unlocks acceptance. And I heard a lot of acceptance from Lana, a lot of acceptance from her whole 7-year story that she talked about. Yeah. So I wonder what brought her there,
Mhm.
like what brought her to that acceptance. I don't know if you have any ideas, Jenny.
I mean, it sounds like she worked really intentionally on herself. It sounds like
Yeah.
she really intentionally pursued resources and found resources and got support and really wanted to do the work and really wanted to grow through this experience.
Right.
I think about the idea of motivation for change. When some
Hmm.
people really feel a drive to make a difference, then they go and they do that, so it sounds like she
Hmm.
was really driven to try to learn and evolve through this experience. It sounds like she did that. Like, she's in a place of, sounds like, acceptance for a lot of things, and she's able to channel that into a purpose toward serving others and supporting them through their journeys.
Right. 100%. It reminds me of the dual process of grief,
Mhm.
where it's there is the pain, um, and then there's also the growth, and one doesn't overshadow the other. They coexist. And right now, if our audience is watching this on YouTube, you see my hands going up and down. All I can think about is 6'7" right now. That's all I can think about.
Dark. What is happening to us, Clay?
So, uh, my older son has started saying 6'7"
He's so
now,
little, Clay. How is
but
this
he's
already
little.
happening?
I know. I know. He's learned it from his buddies. So, but he doesn't like it when I say it. Like, I try to be cool with him, and he's not.
You're not cool anymore. Sorry,
I
that's
I
how it
never
ended.
was. Never was, Jenny. I am a huge nerd. One day, my boys will learn that about me. Right now, they think I'm super cool. So
It's so good.
so the dual process of grief is the pain and also the growth. Um, Whenever we begin our grief journey, we feel the pain the heaviest. It's like putting the rock in our pocket. We've talked about that metaphor before. And also as we live through that pain and as we process that pain, whether that's through with a loved one, through our partner, through therapy, whatever it may be, we start to notice that there's growth too, that there's change. And this goes back to the metaphor that I use a lot when I'm talking about Marjorie's experience, or at least how I perceive Marjorie's experience of our reproductive grief, of our infertility. That when I met her, she was singing a totally different song that she's quote unquote singing now. And I think the same applies for me and going through our journey. Um, coming from a poor area in Kentucky and growing up poor for a while, it was, I was very insecure and very shy, very backward, um, and very like insecure about me being a bookworm in a family full of blue collar guys who are loving and wonderful guys. And then going through this experience of infertility with Marjorie and it kind of having the pain, but also recognizing that I'm now a different person and I feel very confident in me and my journey and who I am as a man and as a husband and now as a dad. And it wasn't parenthood that made me that way. It was going through the pain with Marjorie,
Yeah.
recognizing that I now have a different purpose and that all the growth, all the things has happened along with the pain. And I think I said this on the episode too, Jenny, that if our listeners are in the midst of their reproductive grief right now, and they're hearing about whether if it's me or Lana that have navigated this and or are still navigating it and are seeing growth in ourselves, if you're not seeing that growth right now, that's okay. Like you don't. If you're in it, you're in it.
Yeah.
And we talk about this all the time, Jenny, about clients who are just really viscerally in the grief.
Yeah.
And it's hard.
Mhm. I think that's why it's so good to be in loving, safe community and
Mm.
also potentially have, really good, supportive, knowledgeable therapists and providers because theoretically, if you have people walking alongside you, they can point things out like, "Hey, I'm here with you in this grief, and
Right.
I can feel your grief. I can sit with you in your grief. I want to support you through your grief. You're not too much for me. I'm in this with you. Um, and hey, look at these points of growth. Like look at how you're growing and transforming as a person. I know you didn't want to go through any of this. I know you didn't want to make these growth points. I know you didn't want to evolve in this way. That's not what you chose. But look at how you're growing. Look at how you're adapting and how resilient and incredible you are. At least that's something I get to do in my work as a therapist. I get to sit with people in their grief when it feels really, really bleak and it feels like there's no way of getting out. And sometimes it's really an honor to be able to say, I hear you, and that's valid. And can I tell you some of the things that I've seen in your growth? And can I share with you some of the ways that I've seen you really move through this and navigate? Sometimes that perspective is helpful because we can't see it when we're in it. Like I have to have people do that for me too, right? Because I can just
Sure.
see my own perspective in my own world. And that's hard.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, um, here's my lovely coffee this morning. If I have this like right here in front of me, like I can't see what that is.
Hmm.
Um, but if I pull it back a little bit, then I could see that it's a coffee mug and it's one of my favorite mugs and it's full of warm coffee, and I love that. So whenever we are in it, it's so hard to see the whole picture, and that's okay. Um, but a loved one can help us, or a therapist can help us to pull back a little bit and see the whole picture. And Jenny, I think you and I have so much in common with our therapeutic approach and our personality and all that. And I know that you and I both, we love to do that for our clients
Hmm.
to say, hey, yes, it's painful. And I wonder if we can look back 6 months ago and look how you've grown, I love to do that with couples, whenever we're, 2 months into our sessions and and they say, wow, this is still really hard. And it's still really hard to process together of, losing this little one or going through infertility. And that's whenever, like you said, Jenny, that's whenever we could say, yes, and yes, it's hard. And can you describe how you might have handled this 2 months ago? And then they're able to say, oh, well, we wouldn't have even talked about it. We
Yeah.
would have argued about it, or we would have not processed it at all. Really being able to recognize that we are growing. Usually it's a game of inches, but those inches do make a mile
Hmm.
eventually. Um, and you made a point earlier, Jenny, if I can like make a little shift
Sure.
here. You made a point earlier about um, being able to going back to my 6, 7 hands,
It's
yeah.
cringy every time, I just want you to know.
Yeah, I'm here for the cringe. I'm here for the cringe. Um, my poor wife, oh my gosh, she's gonna watch this episode. She's gonna be like, "Yeah, I married you." Uh, that was a choice. So, but, if we could go back to expressing what I'm feeling and recognizing what you're feeling, I think that truly goes back to every human being, Jenny, wants to be seen.
Mhm,
Every human being wants to feel seen. And that is especially true with our partner. I have this deep, deep, deep need for Marjorie, to feel like Marjorie sees me. And I know that she, has the same vice versa. And that's called attunement. We
mhm,
talk about attunement all the time here on this show. Attunement is just to reiterate for our audience here, but attunement is feeling known and also my partner feeling known by me. And so whenever we have those divergent emotional experiences, it can be so beautiful and attuning to stop and slow down. That's the mindfulness piece, like to really stop and slow down and be curious before we start shaping a narrative to say, what are you really feeling right now? Where does that come from? That makes me feel this right now. And also I love you and I care for you. I want to show you that I'm here for you. That could be an extremely powerful way to be united in a very, very, very difficult time like infertility.
mhm.
So if I could put you on the spot, Jenny, you and I have talked about some really, really incredible stories that we've seen with couples who've been able to do that, and the fruit that we see from that. Can you obviously, don't give examples from like specific examples from clients. We're protecting people here, guys. It's HIPAA compliant. Do you have a very, like, general story of seeing that with a couple? Or maybe it's in your personal life too, or,
Mhm.
in your clinical work?
Yeah, I can actually give a personal example from my own marriage, because then we don't have to keep it HIPAA compliant, and that's fun.
There you
His name
go.
is Ryan, and he lives with me. Anyway, so when Ryan and I got married, we ended up needing to go to couples counseling pretty quickly because we were in the heat of, the 2020 election, and don't know if you remember what that summer was
Mm.
like, but it was tricky, and there were
Yep.
lots of hot button issues that we were talking about and working through. And he and I were really struggling to communicate about politics. And we were both really interested in learning about them and had really strong opinions, and our strong opinions were different. And it was hard because it felt like between the two of us, we had moved out of being a team, which we're really good at, and we're very similar in a lot of ways. And it was super weird because all of a sudden we weren't a team anymore. We felt like we were debating. And
Yeah.
God bless Ryan Lupka. I love him with my whole heart, and the man loves a debate. He loves a debate. It's like
I could see that.
he is ready. He is at any point in time. And I am not that way. I know that I'm right and I'm fine in that, but I don't need to make a debate with you. Like it's whatever. Um and it was interesting noticing how we moved out of that team, and I keep putting my hands together like we're facing the same way, like we're a team, and then all of a sudden we're against each other, and it felt really
Mm.
scary in our relationship, and I felt really frustrated and very alone in that, like, "Why are you not trying to understand where I'm coming from and why this is important to me and why I'm troubled by these things and why I think we need to vote in this way?" We vote however we want to, but I was like, "Why can't you see my side and why this is correct?" And when we went to couples therapy, we started learning that really what we wanted, we didn't want to convince the other person, but we wanted to have a sense of you see the same issues I see. And you see that I am troubled by these things and that I need there to be change in this way. And I'm deciding to do X, Y, and Z to make that change. And I don't wanna debate you. I wanna feel like we understand each other, and I wanna be able to respect you in that. So we learned how to attune to each other in that, and that was hard work, right? It kind of required both of us
Mhm.
to be vulnerable and curious about the other person and really try to believe the best about each other. Like, how do we move out of debate mode and move into understanding each other, and me not kind of running away from the debate and him not moving into debate mode was hard. Um, and it was politics. It wasn't deep trauma and grief that we were walking through as a couple, but it was our first big thing in our marriage that we couldn't figure out how to talk about. And that felt
Mhm.
really challenging because we were usually so connected. So moving into that place of understanding each other's experience and focusing on helping the other person feel seen was a really great skill set that has served us really well, as we've navigated a lot of other stuff since then. So, yeah, there's a
Mm.
personal example, Clay.
Thanks for sharing that, Jenny. Gosh, there's so many. If you're listening to this and you and your partner have different political views, you're not alone. I've uh, obviously, Jenny, you just gave that example of you and Ryan. I've actually had several couples reach out for couple therapy because they have differing
Yeah,
political views
it's a
right
huge
now.
deal.
Uh,
Yeah,
it's a big deal. And so something that you guys found, Jenny, and something that I see all the time, is that you never become more connected with your partner by winning an argument,
yeah,
by convincing your partner that you're right. And like you said, Jenny, neither one of you wanted that. What you wanted was to be seen, was to feel seen. What you wanted, Jenny, was to feel seen by Ryan, and Ryan wanted to feel seen by you. Um, and I see that all the time with, moving out of the political arena, but just going through infertility, all the decisional conflict that comes up with that. How do we pay for treatment? Do we pursue having more kids? Do we not? What does that look like? If we can slow down and stop trying to convince each other that we're right and instead do what I call lose together. We lose together to win. Um, because if I can put my agenda aside and be curious about your position, where does that come from? Why is that important to you? This goes back to that third pillar of connection during reproductive grief, that uncovering disrupted visions of parenthood.
mhm,
We have to know the why behind this is important for you. And then you have to do the same for me. And we do that together. We jump together. There's this wonderful, beautiful couple that I've worked with for a while now, and they're just amazing and incredible. And they have different views on what to do next. And um, whenever we were able to slow down and say, "Whoa, whoa, whoa, whoa," like, I want to know why is that important to you? We do the disrupted dreams of parenthood activity, the intervention, um, which is going into the book, and I'm really excited about it because I think that this could help a lot of couples have some aha moments about why is it so important for you to have kids, and why is it so important for you to have this boundary for your body? Why is that important? And then to show understanding and say, aha, I get it. Like, that makes sense that you would want this, that this is a dream for you, this is a vision for you, and then have it go the other way. And when we can feel understood, when we could feel attuned to each other, that's when we can go into knowing how to solve problems,
yeah,
right? That's how we can go into compromise. But first, we got to understand the why behind it.
mhm. I
Yeah.
think that feels really complicated sometimes, I think. I think a lot of times
Hmm.
that feels complicated. That's kind of an understatement. But the idea of can we move out of the problem solving first
Yep.
and can we get into feeling connected first? Because if we move into problem solving, we may or may not be on the same emotional bandwidth, right? We might not be thinking about this or perceiving it the same way, and we can miss each other in that. I think that's a thing that came up for me this week in a session with a couple of one of them really wanted to move into problem solving to help the other partner
Hmm.
feel seen and supported. And they what would have served them more is to be able to take breaks and be able to connect first and have a better sense of attunement of, okay, what is coming up for you? How can I support you in that? How can I be with you?
Hmm.
Rather than let's solve this problem.
Yep.
Because when they feel connected, you're able to actually make better decisions as a couple.
Hmm. Hmm. Yep. And I love how all the things you just listed of things that you prompted that couple to talk about were all questions.
Mhm.
We gotta start with questions first. Why is this important to you? And what are you feeling? Those kinds of things. And less is more. Less is more. Um, there are so many couples that I work with where I'll just say, "Oh, oh, stop." You know, you don't have to go on a diatribe here. You can just simply ask and validate and hold that soap really loosely, that wet soap, instead of having to, like, grab it and then you can't hold it. So in other words, what that means in a practical sense is slowing down, ask those curious questions in the hopes that your partner will do the same for you. Um, and when we're going through infertility and reproductive grief, that is extremely powerful because there are two emotions, Jenny, and I think we've talked about this, that can't be fully processed unless they are expressed in community. It's joy and grief.
Mhm.
And if I don't feel seen in my grief with my partner, then that means that that grief is not fully processed. So if we can be curious and not place judgment and not react to each other's emotions right away or shape a narrative, instead start to be curious and slow down, validate each other, hold two experiences true at the same time, we could feel a lot more attuned and connected. And I think that's what Lana and Jack were able to do,
Mhm.
even in the difficult moments. Well, that feels like a pretty natural place to stop for today. But yeah, thanks for Jenny, as always. Um, I love getting the chance to have these chats, even outside of our meetings, with shallow counseling and your practice. And yeah, it's always a lot of fun. So
It's a delight.
um, yeah. So don't forget, everybody, follow us on Instagram. I am at Dr. _ Clay and getting on TikTok too. So
Whoa.
check me out on TikTok. I know.
6'7" indeed.
6'7"
Got to
indeed.
be on the TikToks.
Getting on the TikToks. I'm on LinkedIn too, so check me out on LinkedIn. Jenny, where can people find you?
Yeah, I'm on Instagram at Ginny Lupka Counseling, and I have a website that's Ginny Lupka Counseling. I'm on Facebook, regrettably. You will not find me on the
Regret-
TikToks. You'll every time I'm on Facebook, I'm like, "Why am I on this hellscape of a platform?" But here I am. So I'm on Instagram sporadically and LinkedIn, but yeah, you can find me there.
Cool. Cool. Oh yeah, I have a website. I
You
forgot.
do, yeah.
I do have a website. I worked really hard on that too. Uh, yeah, drclaybrigance.com. We got some free resources on there. And there's going to be some cool things coming up. We're releasing this in March. And so hopefully by then there'll be a lot more resources, even courses that people can take on my website. Check out Jenny's website, my website, reach out to us. Yeah, we're glad you're with us. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks. Have a good one.